1936 is known as the year of the three kings because it began with George V on the throne. George V died and Edward VIII became monarch, and by the end of the year Edward VIII had abdicated and his younger brother, the Duke of York, became George VI. George VI is our current Queen's father, and so had his brother Edward VIII stayed on the throne and had legitimate children, then potentially we could have had a different royal family to the one that we have today. The abdication notice was witnessed by Edward's three younger brothers, Prince Albert, Duke of York, who would become George VI, Prince Henry, Duke of Gloucester, and Prince George, Duke of Kent. Edward VIII was renouncing the throne of Britain. His full title at the time was, officially, by the grace of God of Great Britain, Ireland, and the British dominions beyond the seas, King, Defender of the Faith, Emperor of India. The following day, his abdication was given effect by a rushed-through Act of Parliament. So what would be a reason powerful enough for a king to abdicate his throne? Love, of course. Edward wanted to marry American divorcee Wallace Simpson. She had already divorced one husband and she was in the middle of divorcing her second when he proposed that he was going to marry her. He maintained that he couldn't undertake the duties required of a king without the love and support of the woman that he loved. But this was a constitutional crisis. Nobody had abdicated the throne willingly before, and this thrust the Duke of York into suddenly a new position of not being heir to the throne anymore, the second in line. He was now king. And if you've ever watched The King's Speech, the film The King's Speech, I find it really moving because he was obviously a very kind man. He seemed very family oriented, and this thrust him suddenly into the limelight. He had his stutter, which he had to work on because of course he was going to need to address the country. And in fact, in Christmas week, I'm going to be talking about George VI doing the first Christmas address to the nation on the radio. So why wasn't Edward allowed to marry the woman that he chose? Well, Edward, as head of state, was also the head of the Church of England. And the Church of England did not at the time allow people to remarry in church unless their previous spouse had died. So not only was Edward not allowed to marry Wallace Simpson according to the church, but there were also political objections to the match. And many believed that Wallace Simpson's interest in Edward was more to do with money and position. However, the couple did remain married for the rest of his life. Wallace Simpson was also known to be a sympathiser for Nazi Germany, and the chances that she would leak back information from British government was of course a huge concern. During the abdication, Wallace Simpson was in exile in France, and her personal protection officers actually fed back that they were concerned that she may flit to Germany. After the abdication, the couple settled in France, and once Wallace Simpson's divorce settlement had been reached, the couple married. Edward's new title was His Royal Highness the Duke of Windsor. His wife was the Duchess of Windsor, but was not allowed to use HRH. At the beginning of World War II, in September 1939, Edward was assigned to the British military mission in France. In the following February, the German ambassador at The Hague claimed that Edward had leaked Allied plans for the defence of Belgium. When Germany invaded the north of France in May 1940, the Duke and Duchess fled to Lisbon in Portugal. The Duke and Duchess were known to be supporters of Hitler and Nazi Germany. Lord Caldecott had warned Churchill that the Duke is well known to be pro-Nazi and he may well become a centre of intrigue. Churchill threatened the Duke with a court-martial if he did not return to British soil at that point. And in July 1940, Edward was appointed the Governor of the Bahamas. But he reportedly told an acquaintance, after the war is over and Hitler will crush the Americans, we'll take over. They, the British, don't want me as their king, but I'll be back as their leader. And he was reported also to have said, it would be a tragic thing for the world if Hitler was overthrown. Well, it was a good job for us all that Hitler was overthrown. Edward and Wallace remained in France for the rest of their lives in exile and forced retirement. Edward died there in 1972. And Wallace would outlive him by 14 years.